This video looks at word problems involving inequalities. So this really, people, is a summary of all the previous videos. I want to go through the 4 stages that you must do when you have word problems. The first one is to interpret the information and write the inequalities. Now that is the step which is the more difficult step, because you must be able to express information given in sentences in an inequality. Okay, thereafter you're going to draw your inequality, or firstly you draw your straight line. Okay, then you shade the unwanted region. With that you will find the feasible region, and in the feasible region you will find your minimum and maximum points, as you learned in the previous video. Okay, if we look at this example, Amy and Bernie are tailors. They make X jackets and Y suits each week. Amy does all the cutting and Bernie does all the sewing. Okay, to make a jacket, remember a jacket is X, takes 5 hours of cutting and 4 hours of sewing. And to make a suit, which is given as Y, takes 6 hours of cutting and 10 hours of sewing. Then neither tailor works more than 60 hours a week. Okay, so 4.1, they say, for the sewing part, show that 2x plus 5y is less than or equal to 30. So number 1, for the sewing part, in the jacket it takes 4 hours. Okay, so this is 4x, isn't it? And then for a suit, which is y, it takes 10 hours. So plus 10y. Okay, 4 hours of sewing and 10 hours of 4 hours of sewing a jacket and 10 hours of sewing a suit. Okay, 4 hours of a jacket plus 10 hours for a suit is less than or equal to 60, because it says they don't work for more than 60 hours. So their work is less than 60 hours. And in this case, we can just simplify the expression by dividing by 2, which gives me 2x plus 5y is less than or equal to 30. Then they say write down another inequality in x and y for the cutting. Now remember, a jacket takes 5 hours of cutting, a suit takes 6 hours of cutting, and again neither one of them work more than 60 hours. So 5 hours of cutting for the jacket plus 6 hours of cutting for the suit is less than or equal to 30, right? Then in the next one they say they make at least 8 jackets a week. At least 8 jackets a week. So a jacket is X, okay? So the X is greater than or equal to 8, because it is at least 8. So it can be more than 8. Therefore, X is greater than or equal to 8. This is step 1, where you have to write your inequalities. Okay, then in step 2, where we draw the inequalities, I'm not going to work through here in detail. Remember, where we need to find the straight line, we're going to use the y equals 0 and the x equals 0. We're going to substitute that in each case, and we're going to find 2 coordinates. Once we found the 2 coordinates, we're going to plot the coordinates and we're going to draw our line. Again, because it is less than and equal, it will be a solid line. Then for my second inequality, which is 5x plus 6y is less than or equal to 60, again, people, choose y to be 0, substitute that, calculate x, and find a coordinate, and then choose x to be 0, substitute that, and find the y value to find the second coordinate. Okay, For this one, again, we now got two coordinates. We're going to plot them, and in this case, because it is less than and equal, we will draw a solid line. Okay, and then lastly, my third inequality, x must be greater than or equal to 8. So at the x-axis where there is 8, I will draw a solid line once again, people, because it is less than or equal. So a solid line, and I will actually shade my unwanted region. Remember, in this case, it will be on the left-hand side. With that, I have found my feasible region. Okay, here it is, my feasible region. Now, when I found my feasible region, I will now choose the points of the vertices. Right, I want to emphasize something, people. We always choose integer vertices. If you look at this point, for instance, which is the one vertex, this is not at an accurate whole number value for x. It is a decimal. And people, that means you will buy 2.5 jackets or 2 3/4 of a jacket. And that will never ever happen. Okay? That's why we always work with whole numbers, because in these examples, there is no halves and there is no 3/4. So when we choose our vertices, you can now clearly see we have chosen 8, 3, we have chosen 9, 3, we have chosen 8, 0, and 12, 0. Those are my 4 vertices